Hello, everyone. Sorry about the delay. I'm here again, folks, and we're going to do another UFO encrypted Supreme Strike draw stream. We're going to basically continue on that page I was working on a few days ago, folks, and we're going to have some fun. I've done a little more work on it already. Either way, sit back and enjoy yourselves, and well, look, folks. Got that there. Got to make sure everything's good. It's good. Let me go over here and make sure this is all, yeah. Let me share this out and let's continue. Yeah. Let me go to share screen now and let's get on with this stream, folks. Let's see. Yeah. Capture or Kill comic book, folks. Let's get into this once again. Here we have this book from Richard Meyer, our boy Zach, who basically gives us this book, Capture or Kill. What's it about? Osama bin Laden on the Las Vegas Strip. May 2011, when SEAL Team 6 captures Osama bin Laden alive, President Obama is pissed. We told him capture or kill, he meant kill. So the SEALs are ordered to bring bin Laden back to the shoot house where they train so they can reenact the mission and do it right this time. But things go haywire when bin Laden escapes, when the plane taking him to the shoot house crashes just outside of Las Vegas. Kiver and Dow's, two down on their luck SEALs on the brink of being kicked out of the Navy, are tasked with their most bizarre mission yet: locate an amnesiac of Osama bin Laden and kill him before the American public finds out he's still alive. Creative team was story by Richard C. Meyer and Chuck Dixon. Script by Chuck Dixon. Art by Bob C. Hardin and Wes St. Clair. Cover by Kelsey Shannon. Here's the cover, folks, which shows Kiver and Dow's along with a Las Vegas showgirl chasing down Osama bin Laden. They're also being followed by a pack of stray dogs, one of the tigers from, Siegfried and Roy's magic show, a hot dog truck, a bunch of waitstaff with military weapons, some poor waitstaff basically being dragged around on a, military drone, a tank, elephants, and a bunch of other hangers-on, and in one hell of a great-looking cover, folks. Either way, you can back this book for $15. You can also back on other add-ons and basically from Splatter Comics as well for another $15 a piece, folks. So check out Capture or Kill comic book and look at what this book has to offer you, folks, because it looks good. Either way, please, by the way, share out this live stream. But let's go over here and look at Atheos, a new NES game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Yes, people still make games for old systems, folks, and Atheos is one of them, this time for the Nintendo. Explore, upgrade, survive. Humanity's future lies beyond the stars. After decades of war, Earth is a toxic wasteland. The distant world of Atheos, 10 light years away, may be humanity's salvation, but only an artificial explorer can survive the journey. You play as Kara, an autonomous synthetic AI aboard the mothership Elysium. Years of orbital study are cut short when a massive energy surge cripples the ship. With damaged thrusters and failing communication systems, you must ascend Atheos, where survival becomes your only mission. Beneath the planet's crust stirs Zyrek, a colossal war constructed in Azari. Detecting your arrival, he scares unstable energy cores to sabotage Elysium and stop humanity's foothold. Kira will not retreat. She must destroy the cores, restore Elysium, and confront Zyrek. Humanity's future depends on stopping the machine titan before Atheos is lost. Looks pretty good, folks, as you can see from this game. Now, this game is all about its gameplay. Kara is a fully autonomous synthetic AI, and like traditional protagonists, she relies on an internal energy system to power her advanced abilities. Energy is the backbone of combat and traversal, forcing players to make meaningful choices every moment. Because Atheos is a world of ancient technology, forgotten ruins, and volatile energy. As you explore sprawling ruins, you'll discover powerful upgrades that reshape how you basically cover this world. You'll gain powerful abilities like the cryo cannon, as well as boot thrusters. Boot thrusters will gain full mobility and zip across hazardous terrain, while the cryo cannon freezes enemies and converts them into temporary platforms or stop them in the tracks to inflict, damage while frozen. Either way, you can see this demonstration right here of it, folks. Use the boot thrusters and the cryo cannon. Freeze enemies. Use the boot thrusters to get over this canyon by using these enemies as platforms. Not bad. Either way, you also get the nano shield, absorb ambient energy and reinforce your defenses. Phase shift, slip between dimensions to bypass enemies, well, barriers and threats, I suppose, folks. You also get the charged mega shot. So your plasma blaster gets a charged mega shot, folks. Fire rapid energy blasts to fend off hostile life forms, but, well, the mega shot will basically consume massive amounts of energy and destroy those enemies in one fell swoop. Either way, that's Atheist, folks. You can back it for $12 to get the game ROM downloaded to your computer, or you can basically, you can basically back it for $40 for the game cartridge. But I recommend maybe the $60 or the $99 perk here, folks, which will give you basically the game cartridge, a traditional NES box, and a physical manual to go with it. Not just basically the physical, the digital rewards, folks, which will come with a digital manual, as I understand it. Well, I think. Either way, the $60 perk and the $99 perk will give you all of that, plus the digital rewards. So, plus the $99 perk will give you basically a premium, one-of-a-kind, game cartridge for you to have as well. Basically a pink plastic cartridge, maybe even other variants as well. I'm not quite sure. Either way, I could go down here and take a look at it for you folks. Either way, yeah. $99 perk, yeah, complete with box, complete edition, box art, collection edition, transparent pink cartridge with dust sleeve, 4 pixelated figurines by craftsman Jeffrey Winton, 11x17 poster, plus all digital rewards, folks, for the $99 perk. But if that's too much, think about basically backing the $40 perk for the game cartridge. But as I said, the $60 perk will give you the game cartridge, a box to keep it in, folks, and a physical manual. Either way, that's Atheist, folks, up on Indiegogo. Either way, let's go over here and look at this, basically look at this new UFO Talker podcast. It looks pretty good, folks. Yeah. And we're going to have some fun. So let's listen to this and have a great time. So let me do this. And let's basically, I should basically do this, folks. Yeah, let me get this right there. And let's listen to this podcast and let me draw for you now. By the way, we have 22 people watching. So thank you, folks. We have 24 people watching. Yeah, we have 24 people watching, folks. That's pretty good. 25, 26, 27. Not bad, folks. Right off the bat, we have 27 people watching, but let's get into this stream and listen to this podcast.
You are listening to the UFO Talker podcast. Come with us as we explore UFOs from the past and the present. With insightful discussions, interviews, and reviews, we will add our voice to the mysteries that have been seen in our skies and oceans for all of human history. Now, here's our host, Michael Ryan.
Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. This is Season 4, Episode 36, coming to you from Studio 7H, overlooking the beautiful Trent River here in Ontario, Canada.
And I'm Christine Scott, coming to you from Studio 9B in the beautiful Warehouse District in Regina, Saskatchewan.
And on today's show, I have an interview with filmmaker Ron James about his upcoming UFO documentary, Accidental Truth Next, which streams worldwide on June 2nd. Also, we have Christine's book review of Bill Konkoleski's Experiencer Raised in Two Worlds. So today I'm drinking a great cup of coffee made by a Canadian company called Cherry Bomb Coffee.
Oh, I love that name.
Yes. And Christine, what are you having today?
Well, my friend Patty gave me a bunch of canned drinks. Weren't quite her cup of tea. And I am trying guava matcha.
Wow.
Because we talked about matcha last week. And it's like, I feel like David Letterman, where you just say things to hear them, like guava matcha.
Yes, that is funny. So I've never had something like that before. What does it taste like? It tastes healthy. That's all I'm going to say. But I'd say matcha and yerba are both acquired tastes. Yes.
And you both have them cold. So I just feel very healthy right now.
I know. For me, when someone mentions healthy with food or drink, that's when I think, not for me.
No.
Next.
Yeah.
But I just and again, we don't get paid for saying this, but this coffee company, Cherry Bomb, which is in Toronto, and they roast all of their beans in Prince Edward County, Ontario. I am going to go on record and say this is the best cup of coffee I've ever had in my life. Like, it is smooth, it is delicious, and we had the coffee beans ground. And so the bag that sits in our cupboard, every time you open that cupboard, oh, that smell, that old-timey smell of great restaurants that had great cups of coffee. That is what this is like. But yeah. But I'm not sure if they ship outside of Canada. I don't know. You'll have to check out their website. But trust me on this one, this is a spectacular cup of coffee from this Cherry Bomb coffee. Now we have to take care of some UFO talker business. Now, Christine, this is hard to believe, but next week's show is the season finale for season 4.
Yeah, I am so amazed it came up so quickly.
It is. It's amazing. I think this season has just flown by like none of the other seasons have. It's just amazing. And then also next week's episode, which is the May 27th episode, that episode will be our 150th episode.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't. Like, even when I think about that number, I think, geez, how did this happen? 150 episodes. Like, that is truly amazing. Now, I haven't counted this, but there was a lot of episodes where I had interviewed more than one people for an episode. So there was episodes where I had on people who just recounted their UFO story. So I tried to work it out in a ballpark kind of way. I think I've interviewed around 200 people for UFO Talker. And even that sounds unbelievable to me. And as we mentioned on the last few shows, we are working on our new YouTube channel, which should be ready in mid to late June. Now, several people have emailed with questions, so I just want to go over this again just to make it clear because they were a little bit confused. And so the podcast that everyone listens to right now, like the way you're listening to this one right now, that will absolutely not change. So there will be a UFO Talker podcast. It's going to be on all the podcast platforms. And that way, and the way you listen to it now will be the exact way you'll be listening to it in season 5. And the only thing that is really changing is we are adding a YouTube channel. And so episodes of UFO Talker will be on that. Now we have to do some slight adjustments for that. So there'll be the same audio, but then there will be visuals. And it'll allow us to put more things in there, like pictures of what we're talking about and that kind of thing. So that will be good. And also, and we've mentioned this before also, there's a new standalone segment that is it's going to be about a 10 to 15 minute long segment. And we're calling it That Human Said What? And it's not connected to the podcast. It will be separate. And it will be on YouTube as well. Now, just to make that totally clear, that it's a separate thing. So that Human Said What is not part of UFO Talker. And there's going to be because there's lots of topics and certain.
All right, folks, this is kind of boring. Let's move on to the better things. As I said, we're going to be looking at this podcast, which is going to be filmmaker Ron James talks about his new documentary, Accidental Truth. Next, also, we review Bill Klinsky's book, Experience Raised in Two Worlds. This is what they're talking about today, folks. So let's move on and basically get to the more interesting things.
Yes, this summer, that is a new show idea.
Forward to that.
Send that along, too, because we talk about a few UFO shows and conferences. And the first one we're going to mention is the biggie. It is the granddad of all UFO shows, and that is Contact in the Desert. And that runs from Thursday, May 28th to Monday, June 1st. And the speakers will include Jacques Vallée, George Noory, George Knapp, Whitley Strieber, Ron James, who we're interviewing on today's episode, Paul Hynek, Richard Dolan, and that is to name just a very few. There are literally 30 more easily, and all big names. And this is going to be held at the Renaissance Esmeralda Resort in Indian Wells, California. Now, there are also lots of events planned, including a tour of Giant Rock and the Integratron tour, and just so much more. But it looks amazing, and apparently a lot of the hotels in that area are already sold out. So you might have to stay a little bit off hotel, as they say. Now, the next one is, this takes place on September 9th through 12th, and it is called Phenomicon, which you know that I love just saying that word. And this takes place in Vernal, Utah. And the speakers will include George Knapp, Dr. Travis Taylor, and Dr. Mariah Mayer, Jay Stratton, Ben Henson, and many, many others. And this is going to be held at the Unitah Conference Center in Vernal, Utah. So now we're going to do a little bit of UFO news. And here's something which caught my attention. It's from about 2 months ago, roughly. And this is something that was labeled as one of those drone incursions. And this took place at the Barksdale Air Force Base, which is near Shreveport, Louisiana. And so from March 9th through March 15th, there were several of these incursions, and they came in waves of drones. And each wave, they were saying there was from at least 12 to 15 drones that were hovering or flying over the base. And some of these drones were over the base for up to 4 hours. Boy, just try and think about that. Try and think about that for a minute. Now, also something that is odd is, this is definitely an odd aspect of the story, is that the base was trying to jam the signals going to and from the drones. And apparently the drones were resistant to this jamming.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, so that places it on a different level than your Uncle John taking his drone out for a weekend fly over the base. Something else that should be mentioned is that this base, it is the major base for the B-52s that carry all the nuclear weapons. So it is a nuclear base where a lot of nuclear weapons are stored. Now, because they don't go, the military and the reporters can't find this out either. They don't go into a lot of details about what they are calling drones. So, of course, my question is, now when they're saying drones, are they talking about drones like you and I can buy at a store? Or are they using drones as kind of a word for, we don't know what that is. But
yeah, because it's kind of interchangeable nowadays.
Yeah. We don't want to say UFOs because that would get everybody excited. So we're saying drones, but it just makes me question that, because that is, how can this happen? Like, if it was just a drone, and this was over more than one day, and also keep in mind, these incursions have been happening for a long time now. So I would say these military bases have a protocol for how to deal with this. And if you're at this base, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I'm for sure they have rifles on this base, and a drone was hovering for 4 hours. Don't you think they'd be trying to shoot them down? Like that?
Yeah.
That's another part of the story that makes me really wonder about the term drone. So I looked at a little bit of research on this base, and over the years, there have been several UFO sightings at this base. There was one from August 28th, 1952, where strange lights were seen over the base, but not just once, but every night over a 2-week period. And this was by multiple witnesses. And I thought, wow, isn't this a weird coincidence? Like in August 28th, 1952, over 2 weeks, they had these lights over the base. And then now, decades later, a similar thing is happening. So I think that adds more mystery to what this is exactly. What is going on? So, Christine, now you have a couple of interesting UFO news pieces as well.
Well, with all the files being released and the disclosure train that's kind of starting with this document release, everybody's talking about it. So we have kind of an interesting little nugget with some big names commenting on it, people you will recognize. And this has led to a recent headline that says 4 alien species pulled from crashed UFOs, researcher claims. And the researcher is someone that you have heard of, Dr. Hal Puthoff, who is the former Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications Program advisor and a CIA-funded researcher, was on a podcast recently. He was on Steve Bartlett's The Diary of a CEO podcast alongside Age of Disclosure director Dan Farah. And Dr. Puthoff said, people who have been involved in recoveries have said there are at least 4 types, 4 separate types. Now I have not had direct access to that, but I believe the people who I talked to, 4 separate types of life. He did not provide any evidence or detailed descriptions, but his longtime associate, Eric Davis, reportedly claimed in earlier discussions that the recovered beings were described in intelligence reports as gray, Nordic, insect-like, and reptilian. And according to Davis, the alleged beings all had humanoid characteristics, including 2 arms and 2 legs. And again, if you wonder where you've heard Dr. Puthoff's name, Dr. Puthoff is a Stanford-trained quantum physicist known for his work on paranormal research, remote viewing, and UIP investigations. He has reportedly worked with or advised agencies, including the CIA and the NSA, and he has served for chief science advisor to aerospace entrepreneur Robert Bigelow and Bigelow Aerospace, which a company, of course, in the past has been linked to government-funded UFO research efforts. So this is just another little nugget.
Well, it's funny because normally this kind of story would not get me too interested.
Yeah.
But Hal Puthoff, he is a major name in ufology.
Yeah.
And so he's putting his name to this. So for him to throw it out there, he has to be very comfortable with his source. So when someone like this says something like that, you just think, wow, okay, this bumps up the credibility quite a bit more. It's still, it will still take actual proof, I think, for a lot of people to believe there is such a thing. But because talk is cheap.
Yes.
But yeah, it definitely makes you sit back and think about it. That is for sure.
And again, there's so many things coming out these days. We will keep you posted.
Now, Christine, you also have information on your UFO club that had a meeting recently, and we always mention UFO clubs on our show. So it'll be interesting to hear about what happened at the UFO club that you belong to.
Oh, yes. On the evening of Saturday, May 16th, UFO Club presented screening of Close Encounters of the Third Kind at the Regina Public Library Film Theater. Of course, member John Vaughn is a programmer for the library and the Library Film Theater. And Zoe Schneider delivered the introduction for the film. And it was so nice to see it again. I said to John and Zoe afterwards, I got the absolute sweetest seat. It just looked great.
Now what? So the club is called the UFO Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're planning a lot more events. And I would say, because it's also open to the public, there was maybe 9 other people in the theater. And John and Zoe did a great job decorating the lobby. I sent you the photos.
So this was held at a movie theater.
Yeah, the Regina Downtown Public Library has a movie rep company, cinema, that's been playing for ages. And when I say rep company, there's John does some of the programming. They show some first run close to movies. And that theater, I can't even remember how long it's been around for. I've been going there for decades. And it's right in the middle of downtown Regina, just by Victoria Park. And it's a really, really nice little space. Afterwards, we were chatting and a lady came up to me and I had put some of the show cards out on the table and some stickers. And John kind of mentioned to her who I was. And she said, "You guys are a UFO club?" And I said, "Yeah." And I mentioned the podcast and she went, "Really? I'm going to look into that."
If somebody was in Regina and wanted to join this club, how would they go about doing that?
That's a good question. They could also always contact me through the show because it's a fairly loosely structured club. We have a core membership. I could tell you how to come to meetings. I could tell you what events. Mostly the events begin with something at the Library Film Theater, like a screening of a film, and then we'll go out afterwards and talk about it. And I'll talk about with everyone what's going on in the podcast, and we share stories, and we've got a Facebook group chat. But if anybody is interested, they could contact me here through the podcast, and I could tell you of upcoming events. I think there's something probably planned over the summer. No, nothing's kind of solidified yet, but boy, it was fun. We had a great time.
And also, I've heard that there is some drinking at some of these events later, like afterwards.
Yes. Yes, there is. We were all too busy this Saturday, but we have been known to go to some of the good downtown pubs in Regina, like the Hotel Saskatchewan has a lovely bar, or O'Hanlon's, which is a traditional Irish pub that we like. And yeah, usually if we have time, we'll go out afterwards and have a little tipple. And yeah, we've been talking about doing something a little less formal, like a watch party over the summer. So yeah, if anybody in Regina is interested, if you email the podcast, ufotalker@bell.net, Mike can, get me in touch with you and I can tell you when and where we're meeting next, because it's always great to have more members.
So now it's time for us to do a shout out to a small town or village where we have listeners. And this week it is Goderich, Ontario, which has a population of 7,881 people. And it is located on the eastern shore of Lake Huron at the mouth of the Maitland River. Now, I have actually been to Goderich several times. I haven't been there for a long time, but one thing that is very unique is the town square is actually an octagon. So in the middle of the octagon is the county courthouse, and then a street goes around that, and around that street is all the normal buildings that you would find on a main street, for example. And one of them is a really nice old-timey movie theater, but it's one of those places, if you want to look at it online, it's just, I think it would be great for movies, for a movie scout to see it, because it just has everything. If you want that kind of look.
Okay, folks, let's basically push it up further now. Or maybe I should say, because you probably can't understand what I'm saying, is skip ahead a bit. Sorry. Either way, we have 22 people watching. We have 24 people watching, so they're not bad there. Let me make sure about this as well before we do so. Okay, we have 24, 26 people watching, folks. We have 27. We have 28 watching. As I said, pretty good. Yeah. We have 20 people watching, folks. By the way, please share this live stream. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope you can hear it as well, right? Right? I'm just making sure about that. Either way, pardon me, folks, had the burp there. Let's skip ahead a bit.
The largest underground salt mine in the world.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I saw that as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
All
all coming
that town and stuff like that they were talking about, folks. That actually sounds kind of interesting. Apparently, the home of the biggest salt mine, that is of the same town they're talking about. But either way, let's skip ahead.
from the same place.
A lot of them are very, very good, but
Go and look at the pictures. And I noticed not just cream puff scones, and it looks like they make their old
tart. Kate's Cafe. And behold, the very next show, they also make turmeric
Pacific Flight 421.
Okay, they're about to get to something, to the random, basically to the random paranormal story in the middle of the broadcast, folks. So this actually sounds good. So let's listen on from here.
And we will be right back after this message.
The date was December 30th, 1966. It was a clear moonlit night as Canadian Pacific Flight 421 flew at 31,000 feet through the inky darkness just off the Peruvian coast. The DC-8 was on its way to Mexico City. Captain Robert Milbank had put the aircraft on autopilot. Co-pilot J.D. Dahl looked down at his watch. It was 3 a.m. Most of the passengers were asleep. It was very quiet on the aircraft. He was thinking about the great time he and his wife had at their home in White Rock, British Columbia last New Year's Eve. Captain Milbank, who had been looking at something off the left side, asked Dahl to take a look at this. The pilot and co-pilot could see two extremely bright white lights. Within a minute, the two white lights seemed to be moving towards their aircraft. Finally, the object placed itself off their left wing and paced their DC-8. Co-pilot J.D. Dahl thought the object was roughly the same size as their DC-8 and about 500 feet away. They could see a row of dimmer, yellow-white lights between the two white lights. They called for other crew members to take a look. Some thought they could make out the shape of a craft like a saucer shape. After 7 minutes, the lights moved towards the tail of the DC-8, and finally the object took off at tremendous speed. When asked about the sighting later, Captain Robert Milbank said, "I must say that in my 26 years of flying, including wartime, I have never seen anything like this before, and I'm convinced that UFOs are not a dream in somebody's head." What did the crew of Flight 421 see in the early morning hours of December 30th, 1966? In his final report, co-pilot J.D. Dahl said, "I was a non-believer before, but I was satisfied that we'd been intercepted by something not of this earth, and I've been in the interception business for 4 years."
My next guest is Ron James. Ron is an award-winning filmmaker, researcher, writer, editor, and the media relations director for MUFON. He also serves on the board of directors of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. Ron is the director of the acclaimed documentary Accidental Truth, UFO Revelations, and he joins us today to discuss the sequel, Accidental Truth Next. Ron, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot for having me on. I'm really happy to be here.
I guess my first question, I would like to take a little step back from everything that you're involved in right now and ask you how you got interested in the subject of UFOs.
Well, that's a good question. And I was always interested in, understanding the things that are life's mysteries, the paranormal, the nature of reality, the UFO topic. These were all things that interested me as a kid growing up and into my adult life. So I was always an armchair aficionado, so to speak, of the topic, following the work of people like Nick Pope and Stanton Friedman, who I really looked up to in the early days of my explorations, because they were like legitimate guys that were giving credibility to the subject. It was then about 2006, Steve Bassett from Paradigm Research Group came through Sedona, Arizona, where I was living at the time, and I interviewed him for another project. because I had a video production company for some time at that point that I owned. And when he found out that I could do live streaming and things like that, he hired me to produce his X conferences. And all of a sudden I got to go to Washington, D.C. and stand among the people that I'd looked up to for all these years. And I realized once I saw the dedication that they bring to the topic and the other issues that were being revealed at these conferences, that we're dealing with the biggest deception in human history. And I decided at that point that I was going to spend some time working on these topics. And so in my films and my TV shows, I've covered, nature, reality, psychic things, metaphysical topics, and a lot of work in the UFO field and some in the life after death field.
Now, your new documentary has a lot of interesting people in it. I think it's a list of who's who, actually, but I mean, it includes Christopher Mellon, Dr. Gary Nolan, Ralph Blumenthal, and Dr. Michio Kaku, to name just a few. And I wonder, of all those people that you interviewed for the film, what interview surprised you the most?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think the interview that surprised me the most was actor Thomas Jane. This is a guy who has a A-list pedigree as an actor. He was the original Punisher. He had a fantastic role in the science fiction series The Expanse. He's playing Dr. McCoy in a new Star Trek release. And this guy's a bona fide, legit actor with incredible skills in that department. But he's also a very deep thinker. He originally narrated Dr. Greer's movie Sirius, and that's when I met him for the first time, because I did the red carpet work for Stephen Greer. And we became fast friends, and his exploration into artificial intelligence and the things that he's uncovered and the things that he brings to the movie, I think are enough to literally say shocking on some level, that as we face what artificial intelligence is going to bring to humanity, I couldn't find anybody to say anything really good about it. And Thomas outlines it in the film in a magnificent way.
It's funny when you look into it, over the decades, there's actually quite a few people in Hollywood in front of and behind the camera that are actually interested in this. Have you ever had a chance to speak to Paul Giamatti? Because I know that he is interested, and I think he did a podcast on it, actually. Or do you know of anybody else that we're not aware of?
Well, it's amazing the percentage of people that have had some kind of experience, be it a sighting, an encounter, in the general population is significant. And, I like to remind people that those statistics branch out into all aspects of culture, including government, the Hollywood community, and really any other community on the planet. So, Hollywood is full of people that have had personal experiences. And another thing that I found really interesting in my work with the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance is that these writers and these people that are making these shows, they're into the topic as well. And like with the show Project Blue Book that was put on by History Channel a few years ago, these guys really, really wanted to try to get it right. And even though that was a fictionalized show, it was put together by people who were conscientious about getting knowledge to the public. And we're seeing that more and more. It's not really a topic to be grossly exploited anymore, as much as there's a genuine interest in Hollywood to be part of the revelation and not just capitalize on it.
I know that everybody, this won't come as any surprise to anybody that follows this topic, is everybody is talking about disclosure. In your opinion, are we witnessing genuine disclosure right now, or are we seeing like a carefully managed narrative?
Well, I've always been in the camp that says that this secrecy has been managed by people who we will never know, buried deep within joint ventures between corporate America and the corporate world and deep black government programs that are all very compartmentalized, so that there's very few people that know the overall bird's eye view. And that starting in 2017, we have begun to see a modern rollout of certain information. But it's very similar to the same exact thing that we got back in the 1950s. We have military people coming forward saying that there's objects in the sky that we can't identify, doing things that we can't explain. We had this already from General Samford. We had Don Kehoe, a military guy, coming forth talking about reverse engineering programs. So we're literally seeing a repeat performance. They didn't even bother to change the script. And what we're seeing now that's a little bit different is they've got to whitewash this entire past of what we've been doing for the last 75 years, because a lot of it is not okay. There's technology that could have benefited humanity, we believe. There is all kinds of secrecy that has surrounded things that are going to generate tremendous amount of profits for certain companies. And there's, sources of power perhaps that could change the whole dynamic on planet Earth. So they're going to give us this narrated version of disclosure, but it's never going to be the complete truth, because they can't tell us the complete truth because their hands are dirty. And so the thing that we're seeing now, this latest drop of government documents, is like most of that stuff we'd already seen. The things that were supposedly very compelling. We had this image of this thing that looked like a cross that turned out to be a lens aberration of a flare on a parachute. We don't really understand why they'd even put this stuff together. It's like whoever compiled this latest batch of information and videos knows less about the topic than we do. And so it's really hard to explain. I don't know how this fits into the overall disclosure. But yeah, we're never going to get the complete truth from government. We have to find it elsewhere. Civilian organizations like MUFON and all of the great research done by people like Richard Dolan, guys like that, are where we're going to get answers.
Now, for your documentary, you attended a lot of U.S. congressional hearings in person. Now, what did you see behind the scenes that the public never got to experience? And I can imagine it would be a lot.
Well, I mean, I had private meetings with numerous members of Congress. In the film, the new film, you are going to get to see that right after the hearings where Lou Elizondo testified, I went up to Ohio and I went and met with a very famous experiencer, and who has some metal samples that have been studied for years and years by all kinds of different people. The NSA's had it, NASA's had it. Tom DeLonge and Lou Elizondo went to this guy's house and took the material for a minute. Hal Puthoff, Gary Nolan, all of the main characters have had access to this material, but this poor guy can't get a straight answer from anybody about what the test results were. So after the hearing, I actually journeyed to Ohio. I rented a car and I drove from Washington, D.C. to Ohio, and the audience gets to follow this adventure. We pulled samples from the material. Very strange things happened that we document in the film. And then I went back and I physically turned over samples of this material to Senator Kirsten Gillibrand herself to give to AARO. And then later that week, we had the AARO hearing where John Kozlowski, the new leader of AARO, was testifying about how things were going to be different. So it was a heck of an adventure. I got to meet Kirsten Gillibrand. She's in the film saying some very controversial things. And so that's one of the behind the scenes thing. And then there's another story in the film about how we actually were able to influence the questioning in real time of Lou Elizondo. And it caused the revelation about Lockheed Martin and the materials that were supposed to go to Bigelow Aerospace. We were literally in the back of the room texting questions to the congressman as he was asking them. And we blew the lid off the whole Lockheed Martin thing from the back of the room. And that's a story that is impossible to believe. People are probably hearing this right now going, no way. But we document it in the film. We proved that we did it. It was amazing.
I have a question about the material that was mentioned in your documentary. Was that material ever analyzed?
Yeah, it's been analyzed by a lot of people. It was the subject of a Discovery Channel show with Mike Barra, and we revisit that. It's been analyzed by many groups. Some of them are saying that, it's just a piece of aluminum slag. There's nothing special about it. And other ones are saying that there's all kinds of elements to it that nobody can explain. So in the film, we're showing people this. Arrow tested it finally. When we finished the film, they hadn't released the results. But then as we were just about to send it to the distributor, Arrow dropped the results of the test on this aluminum, which they said was just basic aluminum. But at the same time, we were having testing done by another laboratory who said, no, this stuff's weird. It has properties of ceramics. It's doing things that we can't explain. And so, the opinions vary as to what this is. And we're not trying to sell the audience on an idea that this came from a flying saucer. That's what the witness says. But I think the story about this metal and what is literally 20 years of convoluted testing and strange things happening to the people that got involved with it is the story.
I want to ask you a follow-up question to one I asked earlier. When you had gone to Congress, and most people have never been able to go to the U.S. Congress, what is the sense that you got from kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit of what goes on? Did it make you feel better about the direction of the government's involvement in investigating UFOs, or did it make you feel worse about it? Like, do they look like they have a handle, or it looks like chaos?
It's really interesting, Ryan. From the questions you're asking me, I would almost think you'd seen the new movie because we covered that exact topic. There's a scene where I go in for the first time to meet with Congressman Tim Burchett, and my whole reason for wanting that meeting was because the question I was asking myself and other people were asking is, what are these Congress people hearing? If you have a military guy come in and he says, oh, yeah, our pilots are seeing stuff, but you don't have the clearance, I can't talk to you about it. And you have all those people paraded through who really can't even open up to the Congress people because of security clearances, et cetera, then what are they hearing? And is their knowledge clouded? So what I decided to do was go in and meet face to face with as many Congress people as I could and tell them the history of this cover up from the UFO investigator standpoint. In other words, what would MUFON say to them? What would guys like Richard say to them? What would Stephen Bassett say to them? Because they weren't ever going to hear that from the official people that were coming in and out of their offices. And I documented it and I filmed it, and it's in the film. And so the UFO community can rest assured that these people have heard our side of the story. And what I found the most interesting is that these are all people just like you and I, people like Congressman Burchett, even Kirsten Gillibrand, even Andre Carson. These people have a genuine interest in the truth, and they are just as curious as we are. And unfortunately, they're being kept from the knowledge just as much as we are. And so I think that there's a genuine effort and a genuine desire in Washington to do the best they can to bring this forward. But they are dealing with this lumbering bureaucracy and the many facets, and they have to play within these rules. And in the new film, I pretty much about halfway through the film, there's a scene with a broken record. And I just have to acknowledge, after all the time in DC, we're only going to get so much out of this process. And it's not because of bad people. It's because of the process they have to be a part of. And so we have dedicated people in Washington. I believe that they are good people who care about the topic, but their hands are going to be tied by the process. And so, don't look to Washington, D.C. and the political process of disclosure to tell us the whole truth, because I don't believe it ever will.
Now, I haven't been able to see the film yet at the time we're doing this, but I have a kind of another follow-up question. Hopefully it's in the film.
It's almost like you have ESP. I mean, the questions that you're asking me are things that we really, really put out in the film. It's a very groundbreaking film, and you're just right on target.
My follow-up question, and this is not a new kind of concept. I'm sure you have read about this and talked about this before, as well as many people, but did you get the sense that in Washington, there are the congressmen and women and senators who are genuinely interested and they're investigating, but then there are the career bureaucrats. And I've been told, presidents come and go, but there's a core of a lot of these agencies, and there's so many of alphabet soup agencies in the U.S., that if they were protecting something, do you get a sense that that would be easy for them to do? Because aren't they so complex and so big that they're almost like little countries onto themselves?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of layers to this. So, like just on Capitol Hill, we have our front-facing politicians who can get on the microphones and talk about how they want to push for disclosure. Then we have the front-facing military and the intelligence agencies. When I say front-facing, what I mean is the surface layer of these agencies that are the ones feeding them information. And then we have the very, very small chain of command that leads all the way down the rabbit hole to the very, very few people who have the bird's eye view of this whole topic. People think that, don't realize that over time, people have passed away and evidence has been destroyed. And there is a lot going on that people just don't even know. So we have a very compartmentalized, fractured group of people that are keeping different things secret, and hardly anybody knows the whole story. It's been lost to time through the official channels. And so there's multiple layers. Front-facing military intel guys, totally top secret compartmentalized programs within government and industry that have long evaded accountability. And these guys are so far down that they really never are going to surface and say, yes, we have saucers and we've developed this technology. They are a long way away from all of us.
Now, in your documentary, it talks about something that I'm interested in. I think a lot of other people in the topic are interested in, is you bring up subjects like consciousness and near-death experiences. Why do you think those topics are connected to UFOs?
It all has to do with the nature of reality. In the new film, we're addressing the reason it's called Accidental Truth Next is because the premise that we start with is what happens once we officially understand that we have interaction with non-human intelligence. Where do we go from there? Because the conversation up till now, we're hung up on, what are they, where are they from? But the fact of the matter is that there is a they. And even if we can't solve everything about what that means, we have to start thinking about what it means to the progress of human civilization. And what it means is we're going to have to start understanding and adapting to new realities that are going to require a new vocabulary and a vast amount of thinking and philosophizing and religious revisions and scientific revisions. We're in for a revolution.
You've been, because you're involved with MUFON television and all the documentaries you've been doing, and you've got your hand into so many pies. Have you talked to people in the past that maybe 10 years ago or several years ago, you listened to their story and you thought, wow, that is way, way out there. But now with a new perspective and seeing things in a different light, have you thought, no, that person, that seemed kind of unbelievable, but now when we're kind of focusing on, like you're saying, consciousness and all that kind of thing, it seems to be closer to the truth. Have you had that experience where you've kind of shifted your opinion on what people have told you in the past and now seeing it through different eyes?
Well, certainly your perception of things evolves. My understanding that, and I don't think I adequately answered your last question, so it kind of dovetails into this one. In order for us to understand this phenomenon, we're going to have to start looking at things that have been traditionally either esoteric or ignored, lack scientific validity, because we can't put this puzzle together from a strict materialist science and traditional approach. Our understanding of space and time and physics, I believe, are completely wrong. Our understanding of the very nature of reality is only starting to evolve. And the reason all these topics come together is because there are certain mechanisms that allow certain phenomena to occur. And these mechanisms are the same despite the phenomenon. So in other words, somebody might have an encounter with a ghost. Somebody might have an encounter with what they describe as an angel or a demonic force. Somebody might have a vision where they see, a being that is non-human and non-embodied communicating with them.
Very interesting, isn't it, folks? I should talk about that. So, but also I wanted to show off basically what I did with this girl here, huh? I forgot to basically tell her name, look it up. But how do you like the hair here? Not bad. It looks pretty good. She looks pretty cute. I have to look up her name and stuff like that. I have it written down and stuff like that around here. It slipped my mind. The same thing with this guy up here and stuff like that. Either way, this guy is basically Captain Hammer's, basically direct subordinate. He basically used to work up with him before they joined basically a Supreme Strike Force on a kids superhero team. But he joined with Captain Hammer and joined him basically helping him basically make Supreme Strike Force. Either way, this is another officer in Supreme Strike Force, like that. She has basically superhuman strength and invulnerability, like that. Maybe a bit greater than dragon punches and stuff like that. But you get the idea and stuff like that. Either way, she's come along pretty well, and she looks pretty cute. And I'm really impressed with what I did with the hair. But maybe, yeah, it looks good, doesn't it? Maybe just do this a bit. A little bit more. Just a tad more. Yeah, it looks good with what I got there, doesn't it? Either way, not bad. Let's get back to this UFO Talker podcast and what they're talking about basically with the supernatural stuff. Remember, our UFO Talker, the guy interviewing Ron James here, says that basically, have you basically revised what you think about, UFOs and all that stuff and about the more woo side of it? Because it looks like basically with consciousness and all that other stuff, folks, it really does relate to basically the modern UFO question, that maybe there's more to it, that maybe aliens are more ultra-terrestrial or mystical. Some people call them even jinn or fairies, folks. And that there's a real an unknown aspect to them that's really out there. I kind of agree with that to a point, folks. I do think traditional aliens, nuts and bolts spacecraft, do exist as well. But there is a lot of things that have been seen by people that don't make sense. Either demonic or even basically just that they're, so weird, these things, that we just don't really understand them. Isn't that right, folks? Indeed it is. There's got that. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Ooh, that pop up. Either way, what about that more mystical and weird side, folks? Do you believe it, folks? I certainly do. Because it's a good point to basically bring up. Isn't it? Here's another police car in the background because they're all meeting up basically down in the police garage before they go out on their first patrol, as I said before, and stuff like that. So this is where the team basically, is about to go into patrol in the city and stuff like that. And so he's meeting up with the basically other officers that are going to be currently basically joining, Captain Hammer and his daughter in their first patrol and stuff like that through the city. Either way, let me do this right here. Trying to get that. Now I'm trying to get the. That does not look right, does it? It's also too short. These cars usually have a great big engine, you know. So let me do this a bit. Yeah, that looks about right. Yeah, it looks about right here for that. I'll do this as a... Yeah, trying to get this... you probably can't see it, damn it. We did this, put a shadow on it, under and stuff like that. This is a police car in the garage. It's just a doodle and stuff like that of it, but it gives an idea where I'm basically going to be putting it. Might be a little too big. Either way, she's walking over to the other guys and stuff like that. She probably, give her a look. She's waving and stuff like that. Maybe. Maybe that's too big. You guys fix it later on. Yeah, it's pissing me off. Yeah, it doesn't look right. Almost though. Almost. It's almost there to what I want. Do this. Where I would have it. There. It looks about right. That's not great. As I said, this is just a sketch. Trying to get the idea where what the picture will look like when I actually do the real drawing. This is, after all, breakdown drawing, folks. So you get the idea there. Maybe put the back tire on right here. Also put maybe get a shadow of the police lights up here. Stuff like that. Yeah, it looks about right, doesn't it? Either way, that's not bad. But as I said, folks, the woo-woo side of the UFO question. A lot of people are basically taking it a lot more seriously lately, because there does appear to be basically a more weird side. Maybe the things aren't jinn or fairies, but maybe they're close to it and maybe inspire the legends of them, folks, and basically in folklore around the world, because you see something definitely almost esoterical about various accounts with UFOs, even with just basically things that don't make sense. Now, there are accounts of people encountering aliens that seem more demonic, and there are accounts of them basically being more gentle. As I said, folks, it could be that maybe these entities run the range and gambit that we really just don't understand, and align with basically what we've seen in myth. Maybe that's the thing here, folks. These things are alien, but they run the gambit and basically act like things out of myth, because maybe these are the things that inspired these myths of fairies and jinn and, vampires and other things that we would just consider fairy tales. Could be that fairies are basically what basically the ancient people called alien beings. That's the idea there, folks. Either way, let's get back to this podcast because we got to finish it off.
And even though these are all different types of beings approaching them for different reasons, they're approaching them in similar ways, using the same mechanisms within physical reality to be able to do that. So what we're, I think, going to be discovering is the the subjective nature of our reality versus consensus. It's really it's a time for us. Sorry, I need to choose my words carefully. It's a time that that our understanding of our very existence is about to completely change, and there's a lot of segments of society that simply are not ready for that.
I know I've seen that several people have talked about that. Is it would affect a lot of groups. So, for example, if the president came out tomorrow and said, extraterrestrials are here and they've been here for a long time and they're continue to be with us every day. I think, like a lot of people have said, this could have a monumental impact on definitely certain groups of society, probably religious parts of society. So have you seen, just in your life doing this kind of work, how do you think it would affect people, like whether they're religious or non-religious or just in your daily life?
Well, it depends on each person's individual journey. The conversation has been for a long time that, people can handle the truth. They're ready for the truth. But the fact of the matter is, it's way more nuanced than that. It's not people can handle the truth. It's dependent on what the context of the truth is. And what I mean by that is that if the government or whoever were to come forward and say, hey, there's non-human intelligence engaging us, we don't know too much about them, but they don't seem to pose a threat, and we'll keep you posted. Most of the population would react in such a way as to say, okay, we grew up on ancient aliens. We're not surprised. We've known something was going on. And people are going to get back to their lives and slowly digest this knowledge and wait for more information. But if the same powers were to come out and say, hey, there's non-human intelligence, there's extraterrestrials, there's possibly beings living here on the planet that have been here all along and have technology way beyond us. We don't know very much about them. We don't know what they want. We can't defend against them. We have evidence that there could be a problem one day. Well, then all of a sudden our warlike tendencies are going to be aroused, and society is going to be angry and fearful, and all of the things that will cascade through the population. And that reaction is going to be completely different. So context is important. But the other thing is personal context. As we look at some of the truths behind these things, people are very committed to their filters. And I hear a lot of talk, especially lately, after what J.D. Vance said about, these are things that are angelic and demonic forces, and that's it. And the thing that concerns me about that, I'm willing to say, hey, you know what? Your filters and your stories of angelic and demonic forces as they go through your traditional religious teachings, all of that is valid and could apply to what we're seeing now. But I don't think it's productive to not have an open mind that there could be even more to it than that. So the traditional community is open-minded toward the people that are saying that this is what it is and it's nothing else. But the people that are saying this is what it is and it's nothing else don't seem to be as open-minded to the rest of the community and the rest of the possibilities. And this is already brewing as a huge societal rift. And so when they come out with, hey, there's non-human intelligence, we already have the camps that are going to insist on identifying it as certain things to the point of, almost being militant about it. So what's going to happen with society when the reality of this comes is that there's going to be a big wrestling match. And it even happened inside the Pentagon. Lou Elizondo told me, and he told people in the TV show that he did, that there's a whole contingent inside the government that believes that these are forces of good and evil, biblical forces that we should not be messing with. So what they are, how they apply to your belief system, and what you're willing to do to defend your position, that stuff's going to come front and center, and it's not going to be easy.
So your documentary that's coming out is, Accidental Truth Next. What do you mean by that? Like, what should we expect?
When I made the first Accidental Truth, I feel like I really moved the ball. The film won 28 awards and was hailed as a groundbreaking documentary. I didn't want to do it until I could move the ball again. So when I made Accidental Truth Next, it is really about what is next. And the things that we're studying in this is, the nature of reality, the future of humanity, the influence of artificial intelligence, life after death, and consciousness, and all of the different things that we're going to have to start looking at as we digest this knowledge that we're not alone in many, many different ways. And the types of life that we could be encountering is, as we say in the trailer for the film, we have all new questions, and it's time to discover what's next. I think we've been screwing around with this whole, are there non-human intelligence engaging humanity, from the beginning of written history. Every spiritual teaching, every record of the evolution of humanity acknowledges that there is non-human intelligence in some form that interacts with us. So it's time, I think, to accept that these things are real in one way or another and start talking about how does that affect the future of humanity.
And Ron, can you tell the listeners when this comes out and in what areas of the world we can watch it, like North America and Europe, Australia, that kind of thing?
Sure. So it will be released worldwide on Amazon, YouTube Movies and TV, and Apple TV. It comes out June 2nd. And for people that want to see the original Accidental Truth, we've arranged with YouTube Movies and TV that is now free for people to watch. And I'm very happy to get it out to more and more people. So you can see the original Accidental Truth now for free. The new one comes out June 2nd. The website is accidentaltruthnext.com. And I'm really looking forward to see how people feel about this film.
Now, Ron, I've got one last question. And so after everything you've researched, filmed, and personally experienced with making Accidental Truth Next, what is the single biggest truth you now believe that you did not believe before you started this journey?
I wasn't completely convinced of the simulation nature of our reality, but as I explored evolution in quantum physics, as I explored the evolutions of consciousness studies, Rizwan Virk is in my film, laying out the scientific argument for simulation theory in itself. That yes, we are human beings we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and the way we facilitate that human experience is through this reality that operates as a simulation, almost like a computer program, mathematics, algorithms, the illusion of matter. The simulated nature of our reality is the thing that really was solidified for me. And if I had any doubts as to some aspects of simulation theory, I don't doubt them anymore.
Before we wrap this up, I just want to thank Ron for being on the podcast today. I followed you a little bit, and you're always interesting what you say, and your films are always amazing. And I'm going to put a link to the first Accidental Truth in the show notes. So, Ron, thank you again for being on.
So it looks like we're toward the end of this live stream, folks. Not bad. Look at what we did here, huh? Not bad. I'll continue to work on this page, but what we've done here is pretty damn good. So far, folks, we had, 22, 27 people watching, 27, 28, 29, 30 people watching, folks, 31, 32 watching today. Either way, not bad with what we're doing. We'll finish off this podcast. We'll do another thing about how aliens were seen up in Canada or another place, folks. And we'll listen to that in a moment. Either way, we also have a chat from One Stormy Impersonation 64, viewersteamboat.com. I could look at that later on. Either way, how do you like the artwork so far? It looks pretty damn good. I'm pretty impressed with the cars in the background behind this woman here. She walks up to the rest of Supreme Strike Force. Looks pretty good. Either way, not bad. Now, let's see. What else is there? Let's see. We have 32 people watching. That's pretty damn good. Let's finish up that podcast, and then I'll end my live stream, okay? And we might talk about it for a few minutes, too. Either way, let's listen to it.
show today. It was incredibly great.
Well, thanks for having me on. Anytime something pops up, as far as, like new evidence dumps or new movement in the field, and you want some commentary, I'm happy to come on.
It's time once again for a book review from Christine Scott. Christine has written for Prairie Dog Magazine.
Do you want to listen to this as well, folks? Yes.
Cracked and Home Movies Magazine. And she is the co-owner of Centennial Books in Regina, Saskatchewan. Now, Christine, what book do you have for us today?
Well, today I'll be talking about a book by a friend of the show. The book is called Experiencer, Raised in Two Worlds by William J. Konkoleski. It has 117 pages, plus appendices and a bibliography. Now, the first edition of this book was published by Lulu Enterprises in 2009. I will be reviewing the second edition of the book, re-released in 2021. And he notes in the second edition of the book, it's not revised. He just cleaned it up and edited a bit. And he wanted to redo the cover to match his second book, Experiencer 2, Two Worlds Collide. Now, this is actually the first book in a projected trilogy. Yeah. And William, who has been on the show, he's an author, lecturer, and Michigan State Director for MUFON. Outside of his wife, Becky, he uses pseudonyms, just strictly pseudonyms in this book, unless they're actual UFO researchers. And I'm going to start with a caveat up front from William about his hypnotic regression, because this is not giving anything away from the book. This is not a spoiler. He underwent hypnotic regression in 1993 and 94 with a woman named Shirley Coyne, who was a member of MUFON and a state-licensed hypnotherapist. Shortly after these sessions, Shirley's husband, George, who was also active in MUFON, passed away. She left the organization, and unfortunately, after she dutifully taped all the sessions and indicated to him they would be given to him at the end of their time, exploring their events, she left MUFON before he received them. And then she later told him all her tapes from sessions with all the experiencers she'd regressed, are you ready for this? Had been misplaced during a move.
Oh, wow.
When George passed.
Wow.
And so William kept in touch with her until she passed away in 2009, but she never found the tapes.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that a kick in the pants?
Yep.
But William took notes from the regressions to support his strong recall. But he's still an advocate of the procedure, so he's not down on it from this experience. He's one of those people, he's been a lifelong experiencer. When he was very young, actually his first memory is from age 2. He had just turned 2. The weather was warm enough to open the windows. He was sleeping in his crib. He thinks it was after midnight, and he awoke to see what looked like a skull with big eyes over his bed. And he screamed and screamed, and his mom told him to go back to sleep. He remembers the skull receding into darkness, and this was the earliest memory he recalled under hypnosis. And age 4, in 1975, he remembered another experience. His mom was working outside, and he wanted a nap. He felt paralyzed and felt he was being pulled by a little man. Then he noticed 2 others, and they beckoned him to follow them. They told him to lie on his belly. He claims he levitated and flew to join them. And he really enjoyed it, but when he went to show his mom, but the lead Gray told him it was their secret not to tell anyone. And here's a little coda for you. When he woke up and looked for them and couldn't see them, he tried to fly again and just fell on the carpet.
Wow.
But it isn't just him. His older brother, Trevor, started experiencing paranormal activity in their house. Trevor claimed in 1976, a ghost passed through the room. He thought it was a figure that looked like a very old man with long gray hair, dressed in a thick, dark coat, only visible from the waist up. But everyone in the family reported strange feelings. Brothers Trevor and John kept feeling like something was tugging at their shirts. Both repeated in the house, hanging plants and signs swaying in the house. And his first cousin, Joan, in 1976, reported a sighting of a strange person at her house. So this is, again, one of those inter-family kind of things. When he was 7, he saw an odd cloud, which turned out to be an experience where he felt he was actually taken aboard at age 7. He felt his arm was cut into. And here's a really freaky part. One of the beings told him, if you be good, you'll see the color blue. He was looking into the being's eyes. And when the being said that, he said the being's eyes changed from black to blue for him.
That's weird. I had read that, and
Yeah.
I don't think I've read that anywhere else before, like any
No.
other experiencers.
Yeah, I've never heard that. There are a lot in his accounts that you see a repeating pattern, like things starting at a young age that you don't recall until later. Not just him, but the whole family reporting odd things, but nobody could quite put their fingers on it. But the one thing is, he didn't think he saw what could be described as a first actual UFO until age 9. Previously, it was beings or clouds, and he had a number of out-of-body experiences. And he reports a number of visits in the book, but from different types of beings. There was the blue-eyed one, something that looked like a mantis. And again, strange phone calls in the house, just like Lynn Rule reported. Very strange phone calls. And when he turned 17, that's when Communion came out. And like with a lot of people, events started falling into place. And he spends a lot of the book wondering, what happened to me? What could it be? Is it this? Is it that? I'm a UFO investigator. But as I said, this is the first part of a trilogy. Book 3, I don't believe, has come out yet. Book 2 is called Experiencer Raised in Two Worlds, which expands on his life. So basically, book one is a taste of his experiences and his theories about what they might be. And I remember he was a really good interview on the show. He comes across as deeply sincere and he's interested in what happens to him. And I keep on coming back to the word sincere. It's a very sincerely written book.
And we are going to cover we're going to review the second book in a future episode.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm not sure when book 3 is coming out, though. That is the one thing I don't know.
And as a book to read, just as the reading part, what was it like to read?
I would say it's like it's very conversational. There are some books you read and the author's a bit more detached. This is, I'll say the word sincere again. It comes back like someone you're sitting across the coffee table having a conversation with over a cup of coffee about, gee, this is what happened to me. It's like you're in the room with him and you're having a conversation about what happened to him and what it could be and exploring the themes in his life. He connects with the reader immediately and it's like he's in the room talking with you. So I would probably give it, as I said, he's spreading it out between 3 books, but his conversational writing style, I would probably give 5 out of 5 discs, because if you're reading a book like this, you want to connect with the author, and he does that very well.
Wow, very good. Well, thank you, Christine. And Christine will be back in the coming weeks with another book review.
Here are the Canadian Civil Aviation anomalies for the week of May 11th to May 15th, 2026. On May 11th, a Principal Air Cessna flying from Abbotsford International Airport reported paragliders within less than 500 feet laterally and at the same altitude of 2,000 feet in the vicinity of Cypress Mountain. On May 12th, a privately registered Cessna passed through the control zone without contacting the tower. The pilot also did not respond on the 126.7 MHz frequency. The aircraft also flew over the Donnacona Jail at an altitude of 800 feet. On May 15th, a Jazz de Havilland aircraft flying from Calgary International Airport to Fort McMurray International Airport, reported traffic alert and collision avoidance system on departure to runway 17R. No observed targets on radar. There was no impact on operations, and all flights proceeded to their destinations without further incident.
Well, that's our podcast for this week. Please share, subscribe, and do all those great things to help spread the word about UFO Talker. And until next time, this is Michael Ryan. Keep watching the skies.
All right. That was pretty good, folks, wasn't it? And we did pretty good amount of this breakdown page. Either way, let me go over here. We had 27 people. Let's see if any more people have joined us. Okay, we had 31 people watching. We have 33 people watching today, folks. At least basically we add up how many people have watched. Either way, not bad. And I gave you an extra long live stream because I might not upload my videos today, folks. And stuff like that. I might. I really need to get back to getting uploading my videos. Well, on a more routine manner again. Okay, basically, like that. Routine and basically a more daily manner, I should say. Sorry about that. Either way, there's a chance I will upload my videos, so look for them. But either way, folks, not bad. We did basically an hour and a half long live stream, and we had some fun. Either way, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. The there is misspelled. It's THERE. It's Read Comics They're Bad For You. It's supposed to be They're Bad For You. It's They're Bad For You. Yeah. So use those links down below in descriptions to do so. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. Okay? Now, folks, please go over and subscribe to Dark Sayings on YouTube and on BitChute. All right? Then go subscribe to Robot Co-op on YouTube and on Twitch. I also want you to go over and subscribe to Stitched Together Picks up on YouTube. Okay? Now, remember, down in the descriptions or in the chat, I'll have links. I'll have links to YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch or BitChute, Dark Sayings, Robot Co-op, and Stitched Together Picks, okay? Remember, if I do upload videos today, folks, one video will be up on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch or BitChute, and the other will be up on Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, and BitChute as an exclusive, okay? Now, hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. And also remember, I'm going to unlist this live stream up on YouTube, folks. It will still be available in Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, and BitChute because I upload all my live streams, all my videos there, folks. And you can continue to watch it up on YouTube, folks, as long as you're still on the live stream. But remember, it's going to be unlisted. So if you click off of it, there's a chance you won't be able to click back onto it, okay? Now, remember as well, folks, to go over to Indiegogo and check out my, pre-launch page on my new Indiegogo, Scumdog's Second Chance campaign. That's the name of the campaign, folks. Sign up for it. In a few months, I'm going to actually start the actual campaign for it so more people can basically back my book, okay? So go over to Indiegogo and check out Scumdog's Second Chance campaign. Now, I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great live stream followed by 2 more great videos. So make sure to come back again then. Until next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon. So bye. Okay, not bad. One last time, folks. We had what? We had 5, 10, 10, 11. So we had 32 people watching today, right? Just before I basically end it, let me do one more time over here, folks. 22. All right. 27. 31. Indeed. 31, 32, 33. We had 33 people watching today. Either way, thank you. But now we're at the end.